I'm joined by Phil, a former patient of mine today. Thank you very much for doing this, Phil. It's a pleasure to catch up with you again. We're just going to start to unpack your recovery, really. So to begin with, can you give us some background, Phil, around your case when it began, the kind of symptoms that you've had, and an introduction to some of the treatments that you went through as well?
Yeah, so it feels like quite a long time ago now, but I think it was around April 2017, I kind of have in my head when I first started getting basically urinary symptoms, and also like massive, things like constipation and kind of not very nice things like that. So basically I was kind of struggling to go to the toilet at both ends. And I went to the GP, and they kind of, didn't really know what it was, thought maybe an infection, gave me a few antibiotics in the end. That didn't really kind of do a lot. And so I got sent to a urologist who diagnosed me with prostatitis. And they did some further tests, and they felt I had a bacterial infection in my prostate. So I ended up on antibiotics for quite a long time for, I think it was almost like 10 to 12 weeks, something like that. So I had a lot of that. And then the infection that, seemed to still be there, but I couldn't have any more antibiotics. So I came off them, and things didn't get worse. They didn't get better, but they didn't get worse either. So I saw a different specialist in the end, and he did loads more tests, and actually didn't think I had an infection. If it was there, it had gone, or it may not have been there in the first place. They don't really know. So he kind of ended up prescribing me to go and see a men's health physio to kind of work on my pelvic floor, which he found was like really, really tight. And that was probably causing a big chunk of the pain. And that was kind of really where I started. I saw like a men's health physio for quite a long time, actually, for probably about a year. And I was also having like almost sports massages every week, because my whole body was kind of tense and muscles were like really tight everywhere. So I did that, and then that was kind of when I met you, because I'd almost been doing that for quite a while. And whilst I was kind of seeing some improvement, and definitely some of my muscles were kind of sorting themselves out, I kind of just got in this rut. And so I think I'd read about you on a BBC article, and my mum had sent it to me. And so, we got in touch and started working together. And you kind of really gave me that oversight and guidance through the whole rest of the piece, and was kind of like I would say like a really good coach on the sidelines, of kind of giving me techniques and things to do, and like looking at how we can progress the whole recovery, and talking through, I think, when you're having those flare-ups and you're trying to work out what's going on, like really keeping you calm and helping you to move through stuff. So worked with you for quite a while, and then alongside that, I started to introduce, I started seeing a pain psychologist, really, and been doing EMDR with her, which is I think kind of what they do for almost like trauma, like really bad trauma. But it's also, I think, useful if you're in patterns and stuck in kind of, patterns and loops kind of as to what's going on in your body. So I've been doing that. I've just finished stopping doing that because I'm out of a lot of those now, a lot of those patterns now. So I'm on the final kind of bit, I think, where I don't really get any pain anymore. I get a little bit of muscle tension, which is kind of just old habits and old patterns that I'm kind of gradually unlocking. But otherwise I can kind of do most of what I was doing 4 or 5 years ago when all this started, and carry on and everything, which is good. So been around, tried a few things, but getting there in the end.
Yeah, thank you very much, Phil. And you mentioned there that you were getting initially some symptoms around urination and defecation and some pain. Can you just identify some of the places where you were getting your symptoms as well?
Yeah, so I had a lot of like bladder pain, that would kind of just like radiate throughout. I had a lot of back pain and lower back pain, in particular. Sitting down was a nightmare. I couldn't sit for more than a few minutes, and I just felt like all the muscles around there, and my pelvic floor and everything would just like tense up and be like rock solid and stuff. So yeah, and like going to the toilet was defecating was just like awful each day kind of thing. It was just really unpleasant. So and that kind of just starts building into a loop, because then you start fearing it for the next day, and you're just kind of trying to get through the day, and it all kind of builds on top of each other. When you start kind of almost being fearful of those day-to-day things, it wasn't a fun place to be. And I probably had a good 6 months at the start of this where I didn't really understand the diagnosis. I didn't really have didn't really have the right people that could kind of explain it and in loads of detail and kind of help guide me. And doing that for 6 months in all those habits is kind of was not a good thing. And then you kind of have to unpick it, which is what I've been doing. So
yeah, thank you very much. So yeah, I think you've been seeing Jenny at Six Physio for about a year, and we had some crossover between my treatment and her treatment. I think we saw each other for about 18 to 20 odd months, some face to face, and then the pandemic hit in March 2020. We're now March 2022, and we continued some stuff online. And then again, there was a bit of a crossover between myself and Claire, who's the pain psychologist as well.
Yeah.
So if you were to be able to identify, say, 3 turning points, 3 things that help to propel you to the next stage in your recovery, what might they be?
I think the first one was kind of getting in my head that there wasn't really anything structurally physically wrong with me necessarily, which I found really hard to believe for a long time, just because of the pain you're getting, kind of what your body's kind of screaming at you in terms of, and just things not working kind of as they should or as you want. And I think, when you and I started working together and kind of started talking about that, and kind of gradually you kind of start believing it more and more and more. And I carried that on with Claire, the pain psychologist, of kind of, making that more and more believable, so that when you do get a symptom or a flare up, you stop interpreting it as, oh my God, the world's about to end, like this is going to be terrible, and more, and more around, actually, this is a sensation, or, kind of this is my body kind of giving me a bit of a signal, but actually, if you don't engage with it too much, it will kind of go away on its own. So I would say that's one. And I think I kind of, like, the physios did a really good job of like almost physically, because I think my body was in a bit of a mess from having months of like tightness and everything. So they almost did that job of just gradually loosening me off until I was probably ready to then kind of go to the next bit with you of working some of that mind stuff out, and working out how to manage a flare up and kind of where we're trying to go on the journey. I think the other penny drop for me was how much the brain certainly for me, plays a role in what's going on with me. I'd always been maybe a bit of an anxious person. I never had, like, I wouldn't have said like I ever had like panic attacks or anything like that. And when all this kicked off, I was people are like, well, you must be stressed. You must be really stressed, kind of, and that's what's caused it. And at the time within myself, I didn't really feel that stressed out. I didn't have any of the telltale signs. And actually, the more I've unpacked it, the more I was like, yeah, I was really stressed. I was like really anxious, and anxiety played a big role in that without me really being that conscious of it. So I one of the extra things I did was use as an app called Dare, and there's a book, and I read the book, and it made a lot of sense. And I drew a lot of parallels between like anxiety and the reactions that your body may give you, and what was happening in my body, and kind of the pain and everything else. And so I use that every day for quite a while to like help to calm my nervous system down, and and do mindfulness and other meditations, just to kind of keep things calm. And I think that was another big step, definitely. And then the final one, was with was kind of doing the EMDR with Claire, and looking at specific scenarios that maybe would trigger me and like trigger patterns and kind of cause me to flare up or go into pain or whatever. And we basically did a lot of work on that, so that when I then went into the situation next, I would maybe have a little reaction, but it would go from like a 10 to a 2. So then the 2 becomes completely manageable and not scary. And then the next time you do it, it may, gets better and better. And so in the end, hopefully you don't really realize it. So we did loads of work on that, and that broke a lot of those patterns for me, which was great. And allowed me to kind of get back to normal, or more normal. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And it is a journey. It's a case of having some of those beliefs that perhaps from a biomedical point of view, infection, something wrong with the prostate, challenging some of those under the right circumstances, giving you tools and techniques to help to understand what's going on for you, testing some of those hypotheses and having them affirmed, not just from myself, but from the psychologist Claire as well. And you're in a great place now. There's so many things now. We just had a conversation beforehand about you looking at new jobs and relationships and moving house and stuff like that. And it's just really, really nice just to hear you cracking back on with life now as well.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things, certainly mentally, where I probably went for a phase where I was so focused and bogged down with having this and being in pain and everything else, that it kind of overtook everything in like everything really. Like trying to build a relationship was really hard because you can't really focus and relax and enjoy it. Your brain's kind of on what's going on in your body, where's the pain coming from, what's happening, what do I need to do to counter it. Likewise with the job, like you sitting in meetings and focused on, Jesus, my bum hurts like a lot for just sitting here, when will this be over, rather than focusing on the job and doing a good job and doing the best and enjoy it. And it's something that's in the DARE app that I kind of picked up on, which is kind of engage with life. If you engage with life, then not distract yourself, but genuinely engage with what's going on around you and what you want to do, you actually enjoy it, and then your focus comes away from the pain and bits of pain or muscle tightness. And so I'm not perfect at that, but more and more I'm doing that. And if I have like, what's going on here, I do try and find something else that I can enjoy and focus on and take myself out of it. So not perfect, but getting there.
I'm not sure any of us are perfect at everything all the time anyway, are we? And sometimes that can be a pressure in itself.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Just 2 questions to finish up. One is if you could turn back time and speak to your former self, what words, what messaging might you give to your former Phil? And then the second question would be, what would you say to anyone who's going through their journey of recovery, maybe at the beginning of their journey of recovery at the moment?
Yeah, I think to former Phil, it would kind of be to look at how you can live a bit of a less intense life and listen to your body a bit. So I was very guilty of, I've got all this stuff I want to do, I need to cram it all in, and so I wouldn't sleep probably as much as I would do. I'd probably do too much gym and things like that, and I'd go, I want to do these 5 things this weekend, and it would be like a race to get everything done and almost achieve everything. And I think actually there's an element now where I'm like, slow down a bit, I listen to my body a lot more. I'm kind of like, I still push myself a bit, but I'm like, do you know what? I don't need to do these 5 things. Let's just do one and enjoy it, rather than trying to cram everything in. So I think kind of when I started getting all these symptoms, I kind of wish I'd slowed down and learn some more of the mental stuff sooner, rather than, I went through quite a linear process, and actually I think if I'd probably known sooner that the mental side of things was probably a bit of a key for me to unlock it, then I wish I'd probably jumped on some of those skills earlier than I did do. But yeah, I think I would just say that to my former self, of slow down and it's okay, and the world will not end if you don't do everything kind of in your timeline that you have in your head. So yeah.
Wise words. I think we could all heed something from that as well, couldn't we?
Yeah. And then in terms of other people, I think it's I would say almost acceptance in a way. And by that, I don't mean accept where you are and that you're never going to get any better. But I think I spent a long time with a fierce determination to go, no, I'm not going to be like this, and I'm going to get better and everything else. And actually that put probably a lot of pressure on me to achieve being better. And actually I think like when you're having flare-ups or, you know, or anything, for me, when I kind of just accept what's happening rather than trying to fight it all the time, I kind of get there quicker and I come out of things quicker, and I'm not as stressed about it, and I don't get as wound up about it. It's almost that, it's something that comes up in the DARE app, is kind of when you keep fighting stuff, then it kind of things persist, and it's a bit counterintuitive because you want to get rid of the feeling. But actually for me, like, if you kind of just accept, okay, it is what it is, and I'll probably not feel great for a couple of days, but I can carry on with what I'm doing, and then it will go quicker. So yeah, I think that's the thing. That's probably the one thing I learned, is that more acceptance rather than just fighting it, but just keep progressing and keep listening to good people and the right people, and a bit of trial and error, and you just keep going, and you should see yourself hopefully getting better. And one more bonus, but I would say also be open-minded, because I think before you and I met, and I remember us speaking about the kind of stuff that, you know, you do and you work on, and it's, I guess, like, in my head at the time, I was like, sounds a bit alternative, not sure how effective this is going to be. And because in my head you go, well, you've got pain, you've got a problem, you go and see a doctor, they give you a pill or they do something, and then you get better. And that wasn't really working. And so I took a bit of a jump, you and I working together, because I was like, not quite sure about this, but I've got nothing to lose and we'll see. And I'm kind of glad that I was open-minded enough to do that and to start, and to listen to you and kind of do what you say, because because I think there's a lot of stuff that we did that really worked for me, and I think if I hadn't, I would have just got stuck, would just probably still be where I am 3 years ago, in a lot of pain, not functioning very well, and all of that. So yeah, I'd say be open-minded and accept, and it's a journey. You're not going to get there probably super quick, and accept that, but like, just know that you'll gradually get there, hopefully.
Wonderful and superb words, and sorry about that noise there. And it's been a real pleasure catching up, Phil. Thank you very much for your story of recovery. It was a pleasure working with you, and I'm really, really pleased to see you where you are now in your life. So enjoy moving further forward. Stay well, stay safe.